Right, welcome back. 25 minutes before 7 here on Morning Live. South African single mothers are increasingly finding themselves under financial pressure and are often unable to make ends meet. This, of course, also affects their ability to save money and become more financially secure. A recent study revealed that only 20% of single mothers in South Africa actually save. Joining us from our Cape Town studios is Lizl Budhram of the Old Mutual Personal Finance Division to talk about the financial challenges that single mothers face and to educate them on ways to save. Lizl, thank you very much for being with us. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Leanne.
It's amazing. You know, I often throw about the comment, I wonder how families survive with just one income. You know, my husband and I both work and you know, we contribute towards the house and you know, you come out and it's good. You don't have too many worries, but I cannot imagine a single mother or, you know, father coming in and supporting a family as well. But how do you save when you are just bringing in that little bit of income to get by?
That is clearly a problem for single mothers, Leanne. The research shows that only 12% of the single mothers get maintenance from the dads of their children. So it really is difficult for them. I think all of us experience budgetary pressure to make sure we can make ends meet at the end of the month. But for a single mother, it's particularly difficult, where often there's just a single income, there's very little chance of maintenance and financial support from elsewhere. And then often she has to support her children, herself, as well as her parents. So the pressure is really significant for the single mother.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit more about statistics. You talked to us about the fact that 12% get maintenance, a mere 12% get maintenance. Another statistic I threw about was that 20% of single mothers manage to save in this day and age. I mean, is that accurate? I mean, what other findings have you made?
Absolutely. The savings culture in the country is unfortunately quite low, which is something that we would really like to see changing. For us to be able to create financial independence, we need to start improving our savings culture. Financial independence is so important, and the single mothers tell us that only 20% of them feel financially secure. Yeah. So it really makes it very difficult for them to be able to provide for long-term goals such as their own retirement, saving for their children's education. They really need to focus on just the day-to-day budget to make the ends meet at the end of the month.
Yeah. I mean, when we obviously look at just the sector of single mothers, why is it that they find themselves in such a massive financial difficulty? I mean, is it, you know, we know the cost of living is very, very high, but, you know, what can we attribute it to as well?
You know, I think often, our research also tells us that often people who are battling with their budgeting and their finances, they believe that it's not necessary or it's not relevant for them to have a financial plan and to work with a financial advisor. They often believe they can't afford financial planning, which is probably one of the biggest problems. Because if you look at something as simple as just your day-to-day budget and sitting down with somebody and going through that very carefully and planning, it's often not really the amount of money that you save, but just starting really early to take a little bit of income aside and to put it towards your savings. That can make a very big difference in the long run. But it's important to find somebody that can help you with the guidance and the planning and help keep you on track when you are perhaps at the end of the month tempted, you know, to buy that pair of shoes or that luxury that you don't really need, and to focus on creating that long-term independence with an education plan or a retirement plan, balancing all your medium, short-term as well as the long-term financial goals.
Yeah, I mean, obviously absent fathers are a big contributing factor to a single mother's inability to save. Talk to us about this.
Exactly. I mean, it's, as you said, it's much easier when you've got a double income. It gives you that extra security that if for some reason that there's a business income that fluctuates, there's a double income that helps absorb that risk. But when you're a single mother and you're relying only on your own income and there's not a lot of chance of maintenance or consistent maintenance from the father, it makes it so much riskier, and the pressure on your income is so much more significant. So you really need to plan very carefully how to make that income work the best possible way for you.
Yeah, I mean, we're specifically focusing in on single mothers, but are there investment tools out there aimed specifically at single mothers? I mean, is it something that has been developed to try and help in a savings culture for women and single mothers?
There isn't a tool specifically for single mothers. All the tools are available to everybody.
To everyone,
but we've recently seen some development of tools. Government helped us with a tax-free savings option where people can put money away and have growth that's entirely tax-free, which is a very good option. But it's very important to look at all your needs and your personal unique circumstances and make sure that your plans and your tools are tailor-made to your personal circumstances, particularly as a single mother. Things that are very important, for instance, would be your will, looking at making sure that there are provisions for guardianship of minor children. So all of those things need to be considered very carefully and brought into the plan.
Do you think there's enough financial advice out there for single mothers and getting out there and getting financially savvy with their money?
You know, I do think there are a lot of really good financial advisors out there. The research tells us that the challenge we face is that many of the single mothers don't believe they can afford financial advice or a financial planner to work with them, and that is inaccurate. It is so important that they seek the right person to work with them and to help them with their financial plans.
I mean, at the end of the month, when you've paid for the rent, you've done the groceries, you've paid for the extra help, no doubt, that you do need being a working mom. You've bought clothes, school uniforms, groceries. I mean, the list is endless. How much do you recommend we should be putting aside?
That is very difficult to give you a rule of thumb. Again, it depends on the individual. It depends on your income and your budget. Often people are spending what they're getting, and that old principle of pay yourself first, take money aside and put it away first is very important. But it depends on the pressure on your income, what you can afford to put aside. So planning the budget very carefully is the very important step, and then sticking to that plan. If you decide you can save as little as 250 Rand a month, if you can put that aside and just keep putting it aside and not access that money for anything other than the purpose that it was planned for, be it your child's education, be it perhaps a holiday that you want to treat yourself and your children to, it's very important to remain disciplined around that plan that you've put in place.
All right, Lizl, thank you so much for talking to us here on the program. Lizl Budhram is with Old Mutual Personal Finance, talking to us about single mothers and the challenges to save, educate their children, bring them up. Again, thank you very, very much for being with us.
Thank you.